Back in the Wild West days of the internet, before there were reliable and easy ways to get whatever software you wanted, whenever you wanted, however you wanted, in whatever language you wanted, before you could be more or less confident that what you were clicking on was exactly the thing you wanted to, there was Softonic. Softonic is a user-curated and reviewed software database in which you can search nearly any type of software, and you'll be given a list of possible matches that you can download for free. A pretty revolutionary concept at the time, and certainly, in retrospect, a step in the right direction towards an internet in which everything you could ever possibly want to download could be put in one place. At the time, your options for looking for new software was magazines, random obscure forums, and word of mouth. And then you had to hunt around the internet in these really under-optimized search engines, sifting through nonsense just to find this one host site that you were looking for to download it from, and the site usually looks something like this. Pretty bare bones. For the average customer, downloading software was a scary and pretty uninviting prospect, so the service of gathering all these downloads and putting them in one place was a massively successful concept because now, instead of having to hunt through all these DLL files and readmes to figure out how to download what you wanted, there's a search bar that I could type whatever I wanted into, and there would be a big green button that said download. That's cool, but what does all this have to do with design, I hear you ask? Well, I think it's important to set the scene of the problem with Softonic by first addressing why it exists in the first place. It was, from its inception, created to be a tool for the less technologically literate to reliably find new software to use. Why then is it that the common sentiment about Softonic from those who are technologically literate is that it is such an awful, malicious, and functionally useless website? Malicious design. Here's the general journey of someone using Softonic who doesn't know any better. Let's say, for example, you're a 10-year-old boy in the suburban Midwest of America. You want to play the hit game Minecraft, but you don't have $26.95 to pay for it, and you're using your older brother's computer even though he explicitly told you not to. You know, just as a common example. Typically how you would get to Softonic is you would type something like, I don't know, free Minecraft download. And somewhere along here you would find Softonic. Back in the day it was a much higher thing, but here it is, right here. And then you click it, and here we go. We're at Softonic. The other way to do it, which, to be honest, I've never seen anybody do, is you do this. You go Softonic, come to Softonic, go to the home page, and then from here you look up something like Minecraft, and then come here. Well, not that. You come here. Now, what you're seeing here, believe it or not, is an improved version of what this place used to look like. This is what I remember Softonic looking like. And before that even, there was this. To my knowledge, the design here just looked like this up to this point. One thing you should note about these two way back examples is that you're not seeing the ads which permeate the entire page. Ads that, more often than not, look something like one of these. I'll get into that and why that's a crucial point in a second, but before we get into that, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about what has changed in the design and what has largely remained the same, starting with 2007 here. Like I said before, it's difficult to know exactly how much of this has actually been preserved via Wayback, but I think it's safe to assume that what we're seeing here is a fairly accurate representation of what the site had to offer. They were kind of following suit with the rest of the internet, making things more text-based instead of a bunch of big buttons everywhere, and they were sure to make the download the biggest thing that you can see, which would be nice if not for the 20 other linked texts on the page in this screenshot alone. This was clearly before they went down the route of making a huge button for the download, but what I think is most egregious about the design is the horrible related searches thing down there in the bottom corner, which serves no purpose but to confuse users with even more links to click. Moving on to the 2011 layout, they did away with the millions of links and opted for a more buttony and boxy design. This is fine, and in this setting is completely reasonable, barring in mind that we aren't seeing all kinds of ads all over the place. I still think that the download is just a little bit ambiguous and sketchy, if I'm being honest. But hey, at least there's a big tacky check mark on the thing so that you know it's from Softonic. Which leads us to the present, where we enter a kind of minimalist era where everything is spaced out and there are more muted colors. But we also see firsthand the most obvious and malicious blunder that this site commits, a dark pattern known as misdirection. Misdirection, as the name suggests, is the design practice of making it unclear for the user where to go and what to interact with in order to achieve what they came to the site to do. In other words, the design purposefully focuses your attention on one thing in order to distract your attention from another. Or in this case, your attention is not focused well enough on the target, and instead, the design of the site lends itself to make you equally focus on all of the ads. This is done with something as simple and as innocent as that big green button. If there are 5 big green buttons on the screen, all of which are just as vague and generic as the others, how is someone supposed to know which is actually the correct one? And this kind of misdirection must be intentional because, 1, it would be mutually beneficial for them to do this. They are paid by advertisers to be on the site. The advertisers are more likely to be on the site if there are more clicks on their ads on that site. So if they make the function of their design basically indistinguishable from the ads, more people are likely to click on the ads, and Softonic gets more money from the advertisers. And 2, we've seen that regardless of the layout and aesthetic changes of the site as a whole, they were always certain to make the download a big, vague button of some kind or another. Which is where I come in. I've designed here a loose, rough draft of what a potential change to its design looks like, and here it is. Yeah, like I said, it's a bit rough, but you can at least see what my plan looks like. For starters, I think it's important to give the background some color. Part of the reason that those ads are so indistinguishable from the rest of the website is because everything is white. It's easy to make an ad that's white because you can just be sure that most websites are just going to have white backgrounds. So, to put an end to this, I use Softonic's colors and a gradient behind it. Also that the boxiness of 2011 layout is returned in spirit. Unlike 2011, however, we're actually going to outright do away with the big green button, and instead look back to 2007 to bring back a link that you can click. With that said, we aren't just going to write download on a link and call it a day. We're going to put the actual name of the software and its extension as the download link. This way, it'll make it nearly impossible for anyone to misunderstand what is being downloaded and where to click to see it downloaded. Or so I thought. I realized when I was doing this that maybe I was just wrong. Maybe Softonic is actually really easy to understand and my design has made it much harder to grasp. I needed a second or third opinion, so I interviewed some people to see their thoughts on what I had created and compared it to their thoughts on the actual website. The first person is someone who has never used Softonic before in their life, but was tech savvy enough to know the general concept of it. The second person was someone who had used Softonic way back in the day and had completely forgotten about the site until I had even reminded them what it did.
People might see that and not have the same kind of, background of knowing that that's not the right download button.
So would you be confident clicking on this button?
I would, but I do feel confident clicking on that one because it seems more rigid and it seems like it's supposed to be there, like it's built into the site. And I think I can't really put my finger on why that is. It seems like it would be weird to have ad space there.
What about this button? Do you feel confident clicking this one?
I know it's like the same thing, but for some reason, the one at the top, I feel more comfortable clicking. And I don't know why. I know, I'm sure, I would imagine it does the same thing, it goes to the same place, but I feel like seeing a second download button just makes me feel weird, like it's not the right thing. Like the first one that I'm confident in is what I would go with.
So, I know this is just a wireframe, but imagine that there is content here. And imagine these ads are the same and everything's the same. What are your thoughts, or what would be your thoughts, I guess, if it looked like this? If
itself goes. And for the purpose of communicating with the wireframe, I would make the software information box a different color just to communicate.
Would you feel more confident clicking a download link if it was formatted like this than with the big green buttons?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big green buttons just like immediately send up red flags. But if those weren't there and it was just your traditional ad space, and there was also that gradient that you have that makes it pretty clear, as long as the ads aren't also, if the ads don't have that gradient, then it'll actually make it clear. If they somehow have the gradient, that's a problem.
So to summarize what I gained from that interview, I learned that I need to make sure that the sections are very distinguished from each other and that the gradient is a good move. Let's move to the second interview and see what he has to say. What are your thoughts? What are your immediate thoughts appearing on this page?
I see the word download about 5 times. And that's kind of scary. That would make sense.
would you be confident clicking on this? Like, would you believe that this would give you what you wanted?
I feel like it'd pop up with some. I feel like it'd be the start to download something, but not what I want.
Okay, I'm clicking that, and you scroll down, and you see
Oh
this
my
down
God.
here.
Oh,
What do you think scrolling down?
I'd start to get a bit more suspicious.
Well,
It's
I mean,
nice,
this
super
person said
nice.
it didn't work though. So I mean, it's not like they're just curating the good
Okay, yeah.
ones. Would you feel more or less confident clicking on this download link?
Less.
Anyway, so with that in mind, let me show you a proposed fix.
That's pretty cool. I think that's a better design format. And I think it'd be cool if you did label the different sections too, if need be. Or try to make it as easy as possible for people to find whatever they need to find.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like these other websites are just like a scam and intentionally confusing on purpose to get you to like misclick on something that you're not supposed to.
Now buttons, you don't feel comfortable scrolling down.
When there's a million like that, then I don't feel comfortable. I've been on sites where it starts with like it's designed the way that you have laid out right now, and they're reputable, and I feel fine using them. It's just if I go to one of those websites where I know it's like pop-up after pop-up, then I'm like less trusting the further down I scroll on the page. I feel like even more it's just gonna be like more fake stuff.
Down a little bit.
I kind of do, and the reason why I think that is I feel as if people know what they're looking for, they'd rather have it just like be right there so they can just go to the page, download it, and just be done, rather than scroll down and try and find it. I think it's such a minor thing, a small, convenient sort of thing.
So, what can be summarized from that interview was that I should move the download further up, and a second positive opinion on distinguishing each of the sections. Mostly what this did, though, was prove that my cause is just that Softonic is a pretty scary place, at least to this group of two people. So this design change is very important. So let's move on to making this final design. The first thing I want to do is I want to add the path of how to get to this site. I think this is important to show that this isn't really that unfeasible of a thing to do. It wouldn't really disrupt the flow of Softonic as a whole to go from these pages. I think the biggest, most jarring thing would be the addition of the gradient, which, given its functionality, I don't think would make that huge of a difference, all things considered. The next thing I'm doing is I'm populating the wireframe with the actual ads that would appear, and I'm taking those ads directly from the site. This is partly because, one, I didn't really want to make a bunch of ads from scratch when there are plenty of free ones that Softonic is giving me, and secondly because it would be really unreasonable to assume that Softonic would change which ads they're using and running, because these are the ads that get the money, and Softonic's purpose and function as a free download database would be kind of ruined if suddenly the ads were different and making them less money. Obviously, with this design, it would probably make them less money anyway, but like I said, it's really unfair to say that Softonic should just change their design as a whole. As for the software that's going to be populating this, I think I chose a random game that I had reviewed on my channel. So Zoombinis won that raffle, so congratulations Zoombinis, you are getting a makeover on your Softonic page, which I'm sure, honestly, that the makers of Zoombini don't even know is on Softonic. At this point, I realized that I had forgotten to put the user review section in the wireframe, so this is me adding that and making a little bit of a change to the recommended game section just to keep it more in line with how Softonic is actually formatted, because this part wasn't a problem. And then another ad, and then some legal stuff at the bottom, and their contact information. I suppose that's important to put on a website like this. Finally, I forgot that I didn't put the home page, so this is me, again, taking it straight from the actual page itself and inputting the home page. So there you have it, a design which addresses these problems caused by that malicious dark pattern of misdirection. A design which complements and pays homage to a website of dwindling functionality and relevance. If ever there was a way for Softonic to be redeemed, it lies in the changes made here, lest it fall into obscurity forever. Or, not, because I'm being dramatic for comedic effect. But this is what I have deemed to be the most appropriate change to make in order to keep Softonic's functionality, allow them to keep their ads, and preserve the general flow of the site as a whole. In the description, I'll provide a link so you can see this prototype for yourself and move around in it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and let me know what other websites you think need to be updated, and I'll see what I can do. Alright, thank you for watching, and goodbye.